Today's reading is Psalm 132, and today the church remembers Edward the Confessor, and our psalm recalls the vow of David to build a temple to house the Ark of the Covenant, the holy chest that contained the tablets of the Ten Commandments, a vow that led to the building of his son Solomon's great temple in Jerusalem and to subsequent rebuildings, with the last remnant, the Western Wall, still standing and a centre for Jewish devotion and pilgrimage. What a legacy for David. Just one of his legacies, of course. David lived around 1,000 years before Christ, and Edward was born just over 1,000 years after Christ. He was a son of the delightfully nicknamed Ethelred the Unready. He came to the English throne in 1042, reigning for 24 years. Quite a stretch in those very unstable times. He was a pious man, practicing his Christian faith in generosity to the poor and in hospitality and in promoting peace and harmony and avoiding war. When young, Edward took a vow of his own to go on pilgrimage to Rome, a vow which, having gained the throne, he realised such a journey would leave his kingdom too vulnerable, so his vow was commuted to endowing a monastery dedicated to St. Peter. Edward's political legacy was perhaps dubious, since there were several claims to the throne after his death, leading to the most famous battle in English history in 1066. The victory of William of Normandy in that battle itself had a huge and lasting legacy in our history and culture. On the spiritual level, Edward left another lasting legacy. This was the Abbey Church which he endowed at Thorney Island in London, which we now know as Westminster Abbey. Edward was canonised, or made a saint, about 100 years after his death, and when, at about the same time, his remains were transferred to a shrine in his abbey, they were said to be undecayed. The landscape around the abbey has changed so much over the centuries that you would never guess today it used to be standing on an island. But this church has become a great centre and inspiration for the spirituality and identity of England and even across the UK. It's a royal church with coronations, royal weddings and funerals taking place there. And it's a World Heritage Site, with visitors from across the world pouring through its gates. In 2020, the year of COVID, there were just 222,000 visitors. Normally, it would be somewhere between 1.5 and 2 million visitors in a year. No doubt, the costs are commensurate with these figures. And indeed, last year, there were headlines that Westminster Abbey was set to lose £12 million with COVID closures. Our cathedral at Llandaff is relatively modest, although it too has a long and honourable history of prayer, worship and pilgrimage. Our visitor numbers are much smaller, which in turn means that our income depends less on visitor donations and more, much more, on regular committed donors. Our potential and our spiritual significance is harder to measure. It is immeasurable. You cannot put a price on the value of this holy place for so many people. For those who come to light a candle, to pray, to find a moment of peace here. For those who walk past hearing music from organ or choir, or who catch a glimpse through the open doors of the congregation in worship. For those who sit in the garden of remembrance, taking time to think of their loved ones departed. Or for the children who come with their school and gaze in awe around this building, bigger than anywhere they've been before, and very often the first church they've ever been into. And that is without starting to think about those who worship here week by week and who are regularly nourished in heart and soul through word and sacrament here. As we benefit from this place, it is our responsibility to pass it on to future generations for their spiritual benefit also. If you'd like to support the cathedral, or perhaps to increase your support, do use the links provided to make a one-off, or still better, a regular donation, and do gift aid your donations, which increases it by 25%. Your generous giving will help to maintain and grow the legacy of this lovely cathedral of Llandaff, so that we leave our own legacy for future generations to come to know and love the God whom we love so much.